the tiny sensor that can make your car act possessed. If your car has started throwing a check engine light, refusing to take fuel, or randomly complaining about an EVAP leak even though you don't smell gas, there's a good chance a small, cheap part is causing big headaches. The fuel tank pressure sensor? Most drivers never hear about it until the car starts failing emissions tests or showing weird ghost problems that come and go. The tricky part is, this sensor can fail in a way that doesn't feel like a normal, mechanical breakdown. Instead, it creates confusing symptoms, because it lies to the computer. In this video, we're going to be talking about 5 symptoms of a bad fuel tank pressure sensor. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. What the fuel tank pressure sensor actually does. Your fuel tank is not supposed to just vent gasoline fumes into the air. Modern cars use an EVAP system, evaporative emissions, to store fuel vapors in a charcoal canister and burn them later in the engine. To make sure that system is sealed and working, the car's computer runs tests. The fuel tank pressure sensor is the nose of the system. It measures small pressure or vacuum changes in the tank and EVAP lines, so the computer can tell whether the system is leaking, venting correctly, or building vacuum like it should. When the sensor goes bad, the computer can't trust what it's smelling, so it starts guessing, and that's when the trouble codes and odd behavior begin. Symptom 1. Check engine light with EVAP-related codes. This is the most common one. A failing fuel tank pressure sensor often triggers codes that look like an EVAP leak or incorrect pressure reading. You might see something like a small leak or gross leak type complaint, even if the gas cap is fine and there's no real leak. Sometimes the sensor reads pressure that doesn't match reality, so the computer assumes the system is leaking. Other times it's stuck reading the same value, and the computer flags it as implausible. A classic pattern is, you clear the code, it stays away for a bit, then comes back after a few drives or after refueling, because the EVAP self-test runs under specific conditions, not every minute. Symptom 2. Hard to fill tank or the pump keeps clicking off. If you've ever tried to fill up and the gas nozzle keeps shutting off every few seconds, you know how annoying that is. While this symptom is more commonly caused by a bad purge valve, vent valve, or a charcoal canister issue, a faulty pressure sensor can contribute by confusing EVAP operation. If the computer thinks the tank pressure is wrong, it may command venting in ways that don't make sense, or it may log faults that mask the real issue. So, if refueling has become a wrestling match and you also have EVAP codes, the fuel tank pressure sensor is absolutely on the suspect list, even if it's not the only possible culprit. Symptom 3. Loose gas cap message, even when it's tight. Some vehicles are quick to blame the gas cap because it's an easy explanation for EVAP problems. But if the pressure sensor is giving nonsense readings, the car may repeatedly warn you about the cap. You tighten it, replace it, click it 3 times like the manual says, and the message still returns. Think of it like this. The car is checking whether the system can hold pressure, jarred vacuum. If the sensor lies about pressure, the car assumes the seal is bad. It's not always the cap. Sometimes it's the nose reporting fake smells. Symptom 4. Failed emissions inspection. In many places, you can fail inspection 2 ways. You can fail because of a check engine light, or you can fail because the EVAP monitor won't complete, not ready. A bad fuel tank pressure sensor can cause both. If the computer can't get a stable, believable pressure reading, it may abort the EVAP self-test, which means the monitor never sets to ready. Or it may run the test and fail it because the sensor data doesn't behave like real pressure changes. This is why people end up spending money on random EVAP parts before finding the sensor, especially if the car drives totally normal otherwise. Symptom 5. Strong fuel smell is not common, but EVAP behavior may seem inconsistent. Here's the important newbie-friendly truth. A bad fuel tank pressure sensor usually doesn't create a raw fuel smell by itself. A smell typically means an actual leak, a stuck purge valve, a damaged line, or a canister issue. What the bad sensor does create is inconsistency. The code comes and goes. The car seems fine. Then after a temperature change, after sitting overnight or after a fill-up, the light pops back on. If your symptoms feel random and EVAP related, and you've already checked the obvious stuff like the cap seal, the pressure sensor becomes a strong candidate. Replacement cost and what affects the price. Fuel tank pressure sensors aren't usually expensive parts, but the location can make labor swing a lot. On some cars, it's accessible near the tank or integrated into the fuel pump module area. On others, you might need to lower the tank slightly for access, especially if rust and shields are involved. In many vehicles, you're typically looking at a total repair cost in the ballpark of $150 to $400. The sensor itself may be relatively cheap, but labor and shop time can add up if access is tight. If the sensor is part of a larger assembly on your model, the price can climb because you're replacing more than just the sensor.